Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Ash. Thank you for having me on. feel very honored to be a guest of yours.
Great stuff. Do you have your favorite quote, something that motivates you, inspires you, you would like to share with our audience?
Actually, I have two, if I may share.
Mm-hmm.
One is what I've adopted as my daily mantra,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a quote by Wayne Dyer, the author and motivational speaker. And it's when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
That's
That's had a
true.
profound effect in my life. And through my training, one of the staples that I work on is when there's conflict or differences arise, just remember it's not personal, it's
Mm.
personality.
Oh my God. I've never heard this before, so
Uh,
this is really cool. Nice, nice. Beauty in the eyes of the person who is looking at it, right? Something like
yes.
that. Ah, cool, cool, cool. Great. So let's jump into directly into our episode then, Joe. I've got plenty of questions. I want to learn so much from you. Maybe I've got overexcited, so I've drafted quite a lot. But let's go through them one by one. So the first one, which I think quite a lot of people have asked me through different social media platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, etc. Is marriage still relevant in today's society? Like with shifting values and cohabitation becoming more common, the necessity of marriage is often questioned nowadays. What's your opinion on that?
It's quite interesting. And I'll first preface that by saying I am certainly not an expert in that field, not a psychoanalyst or anything like that, just based on real life experience. Um, I've never felt that it was mandatory. Now, I will say this tradition, especially in the era I grew up in, it was expected. It was
Mm.
just something you did. You went to school, you went to college, you got married, you got a job, you took care of things. It's just the way things have been. Um, I have looked at that also as well. It is just a piece of paper. It's more the commitment to the other person.
Mm.
So that's part of my background. And the faith I was brought up in, you had to get married in the church and that sort of thing. Nowadays, it's a different world. There's no doubt about it. And to me, the most important part is, do you understand each other? Do you truly love and support each other? Can you be yourself in front of your partner instead
Mm.
of wanting them to be who you want them to be? So there's a
Got it.
lot of that comes into play. And I have had personal experience right in my family. My daughter is with a partner that they will be together for life, and they've been
Mm-hmm.
together 10 years now. And no talk of getting married, and that's fine. My concern is if they're happy, that's what counts.
Mm.
I have a niece in Ireland who, same thing, that her and her mate are together, and they've had a child together, and they're raising them, and they're having a beautiful family life, and no
Mm-hmm.
talk of marriage. So yeah, it's different mindset today, I think.
Yeah, and I remember when we were having our intro call, you shared something quite as inspiring, like your current partner, you went to India for having sort of like a magical spiritual um how do I say it? It's a function or as a marriage. Would you like to share that story with our
That
audience?
or a bonding? Sure, I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met my current wife 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did, she was quite heavily into studying Sanskrit and doing chanting and working on mantras and was really intrigued with that lifestyle. And she had already been to India on three different pilgrimages
Mm-hmm.
and lasting about a month long each time.
Wow.
And after I met her, that's when I thought, this is fascinating because shortly after we met, she went on one of her pilgrimages. And she even told me, said, now when I come back, I'm going to be a bit of a different person. I'm going to
Mm.
be a lot more spiritual than you would see me on an everyday basis. And it was so true. and I loved what she was going through. So my curiosity got to me, and we agreed the next time that comes up, we go. So I think it was 2 years later.
Mm.
I went with her, my first time over there. It was life changing for me. And at the time, we had been considering marriage, and the leader or the teacher that took us over there, he was Indian born and raised, but currently lives in the United States. So he takes a group over every year.
Mm.
And he said, "Would you like to get married over there?" And I mean, that was a total surprise to us. And of course, I knew my wife, she would love that. And that would be a
Mm.
dream of hers. I never thought it could really happen. So they did a lot of arranging to make that happen over there. Well,
Mm.
ran into some red tape and some roadblocks, just to kind of keep it a little loose and not get anybody in trouble here. Let's just say it wasn't legal to do so based
Mm.
on our background, our situation, whatnot.
Mm.
So we decided to have it anyway and just consider it our spiritual marriage, our spiritual union.
Mm.
So we did that. And I got to tell you, that was one of the most unique experiences of my life. Now, we didn't have the 3 to 5 day drawn out wedding like they typically have with the white
Yeah.
elephants or the white horse. I keep telling everybody they were all booked up. No any animals were available, but we did the condensed 2 or 3 hour version of it, and still a fascinating experience. And then what we did when we came back home is we had what we call a civil ceremony. We just gathered some friends together,
Mm.
actually went to a park to the very spot we met at 3 years earlier and got
Mm.
married right there in that spot.
Awesome.
So that's how we handled that. And again, it was just a piece of paper. We went down to
Mm.
the county courthouse and pulled the permit, and that was it.
Yeah, yeah. I think, and which part of India was it? Is it like south, east, west? Because India is so big, right?
It actually, yes, it was the southeast. It was near a place called nickname. They call it Trichy, Tirupalli, and it's
Tirupali.
about
Okay.
3 hours south of Chennai, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Rather poor area. And
Mm.
our mission there was to go to Shiva temples.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty of it was, not to get off topic too much, but the beauty of it was the couple who took us on this trip are from that area. So
Mm.
they had connections to get us into the inner sanctums of all these temples and do
Mm.
meditations and prayer and rituals. And it
Mm.
was so interesting because Westerners, and especially white Westerners, are not typically allowed in there. So
Oh.
everywhere we went, everybody was staring at us like we were some kind of VIPs or famous people. And it was so interesting, but they were the nicest people. And on our wedding day, after that, we get married in the morning, and then we went to a temple in the afternoon, still dressed in our formal wedding garb.
Mm.
And everybody knew it was a marriage, and
Mm.
they kept stopping. Total strangers say, "Happy marriage, happy marriage, happy marriage,
Oh
happy
my
marriage," all day long.
God.
It was wild, and just such loving people.
I can imagine that. That would be fantastic, really. Great stuff. Thanks for sharing that happy moment of your life, Joe, with us. So let's move back to our show then. A couple of things I wanted to uncover today is about you were sharing about your experience about getting spiritually married in India, etc. That directly connects me with happiness. It connects you with happiness. It connects your partner with happiness. Do you think should your partner be responsible for your happiness? While support is vital, outsourcing emotional well-being to another person can be unfair or unrealistic. But what do you feel about it? Who is responsible for your happiness, and what's the role of your partner in your happiness?
That is a fabulous question and causes some deep contemplation and thought there. Um, Nobody can make you happy. Happiness is a choice. One of
Mm.
my morning meditations that I read once in a while is that the reason most people are never happy in life is because it's always dependent on something happening. In other words, when I get this job or this promotion, I'll be happy. When I
Mm,
get this beautiful home I've been dreaming of, I'll be happy. When I find the perfect mate, I'll be happy. And the reason they're never happy is because they're waiting for something to happen. Whereas the way I look at it, and I didn't used to be this way, but I learned, is happiness is a choice inside.
mm,
It's up to you whether you want to be happy or not. And I get up and I choose to be happy. Because what's the alternative? Be miserable and grumpy? And it's so interesting. I'll be in the checkout line at the grocery store, and somebody, they invariable the routine. They ask you, so how you doing? And I
mm.
say, I am fantabulous today. How are you? And they go, wow, that's an interesting response. He said, what are you doing that's making you feel good? I want some of that. I said, I simply get up and make that choice.
Yeah.
And they go, really? I said, yeah, what's the alternative? I said,
Mm,
that's true. I should think more that way. I said, yeah, you really should. And but it is up to you. Nobody can make you do anything. They can allow you, they can support you, and they can love you for doing it.
mm,
Um, my first marriage lasted 37 years. And it was basically just the flame went out. It wasn't like
mm,
anybody did anything drastically wrong. It's just the
mm,
way life went. And wasn't expecting to get married again, but then I did find my current wife, and it was just one of those matches that I think was made from source. That we were
mhm.
made to be together for several reasons. And she is the one that showed me that. You can't make, like, I would say, thanks for, cheering me up. And she'd say, well, I didn't make you cheer up. You chose to cheer up. It's a
Cheer up.
choice.
Mm.
And I said, well, whatever you did, it caused me to cheer up. She goes, that's better. That's a
There
good
you go.
reframe. So
There you go.
studied a lot of, I've done a lot of NLP. I'm an NLP practitioner, and it is how you say things that makes all the difference.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more with you on that one because since from the beginning, I mean, I was raised in a very small town. And I was fortunate enough that when I was a very young individual, I had opportunity to live with my grandmother, my grandfather for a while. And the time used to spend with them, I realized that that time I still miss a lot. Even the
Yes.
time I used to spend with my dad playing in the ground and everything, he used to play with us. And what I realize now, oh my God, how much I can pay back to have these moments back in my life, right? And
Yes.
you also touched a little bit on that people think that they will be happy when they have this big house. People think when they will be happy when they have this, I don't know, Lamborghini car or something like that. I have another question on the similar grounds. There's a lot of, I don't want to use this word, but it's inequality in the perception of the person you want to date in the society nowadays. And what I'm talking about is, should you date someone who earns significantly less or more than you? Like financial imbalances might introduce power dynamics or even resentment. But there's a theme in the society where uh, I have interviewed multimillionaires with more than 250 million exit from their startups. And I have interviewed somebody who just came out of a university and working on their, first job. And there is a discrepancy around how people think. There are maximum numbers of uh, males whom I interviewed. They don't really care about if they're in a heterosexual relationship, if they're not they're heterosexual and they want to date somebody who is female, they don't care much about their earning potential or how much they earn. What they care about is if the person is aligned with my life goals. Whereas when I interview the other side of people, like mostly females, what I realize it matters a lot. In if I'm not saying it's correct for every single individual whom I have interviewed, but more majority of them it matters a lot. So there is a very specific distinct of societal not just perception but also what individuals thinks when it comes to dating somebody who makes more or less money than you. What's your opinion on this particular element of the society where, let's say, if your son comes to you or your daughter comes to you and asks that, should I date somebody who is making like less than even half what I make? Does that really matters?
If one of my children came and asked me that, not at all. I would think that's way down on the totem pole, so
Oh.
to speak. My first response is, do they make you happy? Do they help you? Do they allow you to be happy? Excuse me, reframe that.
Mm.
And because we just said they can't make you do anything, you have to
Yep.
choose. But are you two happy together? And with my children, that's been very true. And I'm
Mm.
like, great, as long as you're happy, I'm happy. And I don't, money hasn't entered any of that conversation. Even when I go back to meeting my first wife, for example,
Mm.
um, she came from, I'll just call it, nowadays you would look at that as probably upper middle class, white collar family. And I'm six of seven children in an Irish Catholic family.
Mhm.
We were immigrants. I was actually born in Dublin, but I was only 6 months old when we came to the States,
Mm.
and so raised here. But my dad worked blue collar jobs, and I mean, we had what we needed, food and shelter, but we certainly had no luxuries. And when I met my first wife, it was actually her mom who kind of looked down on me because I was moving furniture for a living,
Mm.
and I was a laborer. And um, she wanted her daughter to marry some white collar, executive type of thing.
Somebody more
And
prosperous. Yeah.
yeah, but my then wife or then girlfriend, who became my wife, no, we just loved being together. We had fun together. We did everything together.
Mm.
So we decided, yeah, no, we're gonna be together anyway. So money didn't even come into play. I've been fortunate over my most of my life where I was able to support my wife and my family, so she could stay home with the children. That was a priority for us,
Mm.
and that's what we did. We worked on our priorities, and we just made it happen. And when we used to get into arguments, I was always about becoming successful and getting over that hump of not having anything.
Mm.
And so I became borderline workaholic, maybe. And there were times when I neglected her and the family and whatnot, and we'd get into arguments about it. And she said, I'm happiest. I just want us to have everything. And she'd say, when have we been the happiest? We've been the happiest when we had nothing.
Mm.
Because there's nothing to worry about. It's just us.
Yeah.
So those are some of
Yeah.
the reasons behind that, too.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard this too. I was reading through Atomic Habit, then I went through Profit First, all these kind of business books, and then I started reading some relationship advice books. And what I've learned is more smarter you get, is more miserable you get. More smarter you get, is more miserable you get. More dumbfound you are you tend to have more happiness in your life, which is very very stupid because I am not that stupid, and I feel it. When I was young, I was dumb, I was learning things, I had felt happiness in small things.
Yes.
You see what is happening here now? Even if it is my birthday, I don't want to celebrate it. I have more enjoyment when I'm going out and celebrating my girlfriend's birthday. She has invented a new term for it. It's called her name is Kamala, so we call it Cami Appreciation Day. We do everything what she loves. She loves dinosaurs. She loves books. So we go to all the bookshops in London. Then she loves mushrooms. So we go to the best mushroom stores to have mushroom risottos or food or even mushroom ice creams, things like that. And
Wow.
towards the end of the day, we go to these Indian restaurant where she loves all these Indian food. So it's like everything we do that day is the appreciation day for her. Then
Sure.
when it comes to my birthday, I like to sit down alone, think, oh, what I have achieved in these 35 years, how miserable I am, and things like that. You see what's happening here?
Taking stock in your life, are you?
Take a start with the life, yeah. But you're absolutely right. I think happiness is something which comes from within you. It's
Oh, no doubt.
nothing related to the outside world. So let's try going back to something which is more around um, you know uh, talking about relationship. One of the aspects which I have spoken about in different conversations is a lot of partners lie to their partners, and I'm not just talking about husband and wives but also in gay and lesbian relationships. Do you think lying to protect your partner is ever justifiable? White lies may seem harmless, but they can also erode trust over time.
That's a loaded question. Um, First of all, I I wanted to say, what's the point in keeping things to? Are you really protecting them?
Mm,
Yet, when I look back on my first marriage, yeah, I was guilty of that. I think we both were. I think most people probably are. And it's a lesson I learned. So when I got into my second marriage, we agreed early on that there would be no secrets and no hiding anything because it doesn't help. And it's amazing psychologically. I'm a much happier man because I know I can go to my wife and tell her everything. And there's no judgment. That's the key. And it's interesting because we actually teach a course on this about our relationships. And trust is the key thing. And
mm,
when you can be completely open with your partner and they do not judge you, that's one of the defaults we have as humans, I believe, is we always, or mostly always, tend to judge based on what people say or think or do. And I mean, you can go back to the biblical quotes and say, let the person who has not sinned throw the first stone.
mm.
Who are we to judge others when we are human ourselves? So I will put this out there that I've been on both sides and I'm a much happier man because I know I can share anything and everything with my wife.
Got it. So we are saying that you're saying that trust is so important element in any relationship that not necessarily even if you're protecting your partner with something which might not sound like a lie, but it is a lie because either you're not disclosing all the information or you're disclosing the piece of information which is not correct. That not necessarily means that you could justify that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say so. I've been a successful entrepreneur all my life, and I've bought
Mm,
sold multiple successful businesses. And I learned from owning businesses that hiding things comes back to bite you typically.
mm,
It's I would rather work in high integrity and be open about everything. Um, Most of my life I've spent in real estate sales.
mm.
And one of the first things I say when I sit down to be interviewed by somebody and consequently interviewing them to see if we're a good match is I want your permission, or can I have your permission to tell you the truth at all times, whether it's good or bad news?
Mm.
And they always say, of course, of course, of course. Yet in our industry, there are so many people who will tell the seller whatever they want to hear just so they can get the listing. And to me, that doesn't benefit anybody in the long run because when it does go awry, now I look bad. they're frustrated because they can't accomplish their goal. And it's just bad practice all around.
Mm. Doesn't
That's,
work for anybody.
no, it doesn't benefit anybody. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to mislead anybody and say it's easy,
Mm.
especially in the beginning. It's almost, as a man, especially, I believe, it's embarrassing sometimes
Mm.
to say the truth. Yet, again, if it's done without judgment, you have to have those predetermined parameters in place. I know couples that sit down and they literally have a session and they'll say, okay, we're going into our session. Now I'm going to tell you everything that I've been doing and thinking, and you are not going to judge. You're just going to say thank you for sharing. I love you.
Mm.
There's an Hawaiian process where they call, and I can never get the name right, but it's Halana Panawana or something like that, where I said, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, and then the other person says it back. It's a good way to end arguments for sure. And similar process. The other person is not to judge. It's simply, well, I was brought up Catholic. It's like a confession. Just let
Mm.
me air it out and get it off my chest. And it's getting it off your chest from in here and releasing it to the universe, as I like to look at it. Everything's fine. You're
Mm.
not as bad. That's the other thing. You start to get a guilty conscience.
Mm.
And that affects your life, your relationship, your business decisions, everything. It filters in. So it's better to have the high integrity and just have a clean slate.
Indeed. Indeed.
And if I may, I will say there are good ways to say it, and there are bad ways to say it. So I suppose the key there is to help develop the nicer ways to say it, and that's part of what we train and teach in our relationship courses.
Got it. Got it. I want to learn more about what what is included in this course and what you teach people. But before we go into that, uh, I want to ask a question around love. Should you stay if the love is gone but companionship remains? A relationship can offer comfort without passion, but is that settling or evolving?
Say that's a very individualized uh, response. I'm not so sure I can answer that. I am a person, I love to love people, and
Mm-hmm.
being human, of course, I love to be loved as well. We all do.
Mm.
People feel better when they're recognized and seen and loved.
Mm.
So I believe it's something we all strive for.
Got it.
There are relationships, and I've been in some, now that I think back, where, yeah, we are more compatible, like buddy buddy, friends friends, that kind of thing. Um, but that to me isn't so much marriage material if you are connecting the two. So I don't have a lot
Cool.
of experience on that part of it.
Not a problem. That's fine. So let's get back to the course then. Would you be able to share with our audience what kind of problem you are trying to solve by teaching this course to the people, and what they get out of it, and what are the different steps to get into it and then learn and that get benefited out of it?
Oh, sure. First of all, you want to reach out to me, and what I like to do is meet people on a quick 15 to 30-minute call to, as I call it, get acquainted call,
Mm.
and see if what we can offer can help you, and vice versa, because we do help each other in the process.
Mm.
But what was the question now? It was like, what do we teach people, or how do we do it?
What's the problem you're trying to solve with this
Well, the
course?
problem, yes. Um, I don't even look at it as a problem. People Most people don't always know the best way to communicate. And part of that reason is we all have unique personalities and we think different. We receive information different. We process it differently. Just as a quick example for that, you and I could go into a conference room for a meeting and
Yep.
we'll walk out of that room and afterwards they'll say, what did you get out of that? And what you tell me might be like, wow, I didn't get that at all. I got something else. So we hear things differently. The key is when we get into a relationship, instead of me trying to help you be compatible with me, I want to know what makes you tick and what makes you happy, what makes you irritated, those sorts of things, so that I can adapt to your style of communication. That to me helps relationships and the solve the conflicts. Now, the problems people have, and again, I don't even call them problems. Sometimes they're not even aware of it, and I wasn't when I was younger. Let's face it, I'm 71 years old. It took me a long time to learn this information. I didn't really start to see it until I was around 60. And at this point in my life, I feel I've got the wisdom and the experience and the knowledge that I can help people move along faster and help to open their eyes to see maybe the reason they're not happy, maybe the reason they're not successful can be right here. It's the mindset. So, what we teach people and help people to learn is what's the best mindset you can have out there. And along with that, there's a lot of information that goes on, but it's pretty much just showing them how they can go about things much better. And it's amazing because when they have those breakthroughs, it's just like the big aha moments. Oh my God, I can't believe it's that simple. And it is simple. It's not complicated at all. And that's when I get the joy is seeing people get it and they can implement it right away. It's a mind shift. I've seen marriages saved. They're on the verge of divorce, and they were saved. We've used it for anti-bullying campaigns in schools. You know, the kid that gets picked on all the time, it's usually because they look different or act different. And it's just that they have a different personality style. There's nothing wrong with them. And the problem is with society, there's so much peer pressure put on you that you evolve into somebody that, as I used to do, I always wanted to be the person I thought others wanted me to be. And my current wife showed me that. She says, you know, if you truly want to be successful, you want to be who you are at your true essence. That was one of the most impactful statements I ever heard. And that put me on a long journey of self-discovery. And that's what we teach now. I lost your volume.
Sorry, I was just asking, who is your ideal customer persona then? Who is your target audience?
Okay, so I work with a team, so we have different ones, and pretty
Mm-hmm.
much we can take any type. My particular, because I've been in business all my life and sales, is I tend to focus on entrepreneurs, business owners, salespeople, people like that, looking to get ahead, get to the next level. Typically, they're between 40 and 70 years old, and they are successful, but they're at a plateau and
Mm,
they can't seem to understand why they can't get to that next step.
got it.
Or they are starting to get to that next step, but they're scrambling. They're going this way and that way, and they don't have a good straight line approach to it. In
Mm,
our coaching program, we open their eyes to that. And through self discovery, we guide them to get back on that path so they can get there faster. And
awesome.
another way of looking at that is I made a lot of mistakes in my life and learned from them. That's the best way to learn. So what
Mm.
I like to do is show them how to avoid that so they can move along at a quicker rate.
Indeed, indeed. And I was thinking to ask you something. So I'm enjoying this conversation so much, Joe, that I want to go on and on. But the problem is we have very limited time.
I
But
understand.
before we move to our lightning round, where we have six quickfire questions, I would like to ask you a personal question. You've been through two marriages. You have helped so many people to get into the path they want to. You had multiple entrepreneurial journeys in your life. You have done so much business. You have mentored so many people. If you have to gather all of your experience together and then give advice to our listeners, one advice about relationship of all of your wisdom from your what you have learned till now, what would that be?
In relationships, honesty and integrity. Those two words are definitely at the top of the list. Um, Worked with so many couples and witnessed it in my own life
Hmm.
where people just aren't totally honest, or they live one life with the spouse, but as soon as they get away from them, they're a different person. And I never quite understood that. And so,
Hmm.
yeah, I would say honesty, truth, high integrity, definitely
Would be
key.
the
And
definitely.
be open. Don't be afraid to share because you think that's going to cause a rift, but in the long run, it's going to be better. And I do know this too from working with a lot of women. They
Hmm.
much prefer a man who would admit to his mistakes and say that he's not that big, almighty, strong person, that's a real masculine guy. They would love for men to be more open, share their emotions, and be compassionate, that sort of thing. So,
Got
sorry,
it.
I get going on this. I get all excited because I love
No
to
problem. No
help
problem.
people with that.
I think honesty is quite important in relationship myself because this is something which takes you towards the not just the partnership and uh, the way you respect your partner, because
Yes.
if you're honest then your respect grows more and more, right? And honesty become more important when it is difficult to share, but then if you do share it improves your relationship quite well. So thanks for that. Thanks, Joe. This was really good. So time to move into our lightning round. I've got
Uh-oh.
six quickfire questions. If you think one of the questions you don't want to answer, that's fine. You can say skip, and then we move on to the next one. Are
Sure.
you ready?
As ready as I'm gonna be.
Great stuff. Uh, Number one, stay friends with an ex. You would say yes or no? I mean, tests
I
emotional
would say yes.
maturity.
I would say
Yes.
yes. Now my ex said no.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
I want to stay best friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Number two, would you rather be respected or adored in a relationship?
Respected,
Respected.
guaranteed.
That's much more valuable, isn't it? Is great sex or great conversation more important? Which one you weigh more?
Oh, good conversation for sure.
Over sex?
I mean, both would be fabulous. But
Definitely.
a relationship, it isn't built strictly on sex, although that adds
Indeed.
nicely to it. It
Indeed.
is built on good communication.
Yeah, yeah. For me, it's always about, the layers on the cake.
Yeah.
So the nice and sweet layer is always sex, but you
Yes.
need the inside fluffy bread to make it stand.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah, the frosting on the cake, right?
Yes, it is. It is. Okay, next. Um, it's a more modern world question, but it's quite annoying, and it's been asked on every single dinner table when there are like millennials or Gen Zs. Sh- Sharing your password is good or bad for your mobile phone?
I am going to say it's good to share it.
Mm,
It goes back to being open and honest. Uh, why can't you share it? What are you hiding?
mm,
I mean, my
yeah.
wife takes my phone because she does the books and whatnot, and she'll
Mm,
take my phone to get these codes so you can get into sites and everything. She says, "Can I see your phone?" I said, "Sure, take it. I don't even think about it. I've got
yep.
nothing to hide."
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Jealousy. Is it a sign of love or is it a red flag?
I think it's a red flag. It's a weakness in your personality, your character, not the other person.
Not the other person. And last but not least, forgive once or never forget. Which one you will choose?
Forgive.
Forgive.
Yeah,
Mm,
definitely. None of us are perfect.
yeah. Yeah. Well, great. We have covered all the six questions, and you have given me all the satisfactory answers. So kudos to you.
That was
Great
easy.
stuff. Great stuff. Cool. So Joe, if people wanna get in touch with you, people wanna understand how to get in touch. If you have some questions, what's the best way to do it?
Couple of ways. I'll give you my email
Okay.
and a phone number would be good. Email, the best one is C and J coaching at
Mm-hmm.
Gmail. And it stands for Cindy and Joe. Cindy's my wife's name. So it's CANDJ coaching at Gmail. And my mobile number is 843-345-8506. Of course, an US number.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's probably the quickest way to get in touch with me. And then we can set up a get acquainted call and have a chat, see if we first of all get along,
Mm-hmm.
and because it's important if you want to work with somebody, you've got to have an understanding, and you can't have that friction there. So that would be the easiest way to get in touch with me.
Great. Joe, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your inspiring journey and impactful work you're doing. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on Relationship Labs
I
podcast.
feel very honored, Ash. Thank you very much.